I am making this video to share with you how we use our 5 favorite power-ups in Trello. Now, if at any point during this video you think that there's an easier way for me to accomplish the task that I'm trying to do, please give me feedback and comment below. I'm going to share my screen and we'll dive right in. Okay, once you get into your Trello board, we are going to go into Show Menu on the right-hand side, and then here we can add all these power-ups. Now, the ones that we're going to be dealing with today are called Custom Fields, List Limits, Calendar Power-Up, and then Card Relationships. Now, every Trello board comes with Butler automatically, and we'll talk about that at the very end. Now, the first power-up we're going to talk about is Custom Fields. Once you have that onto your board, you can create custom fields within each card. So we're going to add a new card. And with this, we're going to go level, right? Name. And then we can edit this card. Now we've already added in some custom fields here, but to add in a custom field, you would just click on Power-Ups, Custom Fields, then click New Field. Once you do that, you can create what type of field you want. We have drop-down lists, and we also have date that we're using. Now, I think that date is the most important one because then we're able to use Butler later to set a due date on that card based on their anniversary or their birthday. And so once we have the type, we can name the card. Once we name the card, we just click enter to create, and then it pops up right there. To add it, you would then just select it, and then you can see it pops up down there. Moving on to the next power up is list limits. Once you have list limits downloaded onto your board, you can go into each list and then you can set list limit. And right now we have it set at 50, but when you set a list limit, it gives you this nice ratio. So it tells you how many cards are in each list, and that's just helpful for visual purposes. The next one I'm going to talk about is Calendar Power Up. Once you have Calendar Power Up on your board, you'll have this pop up at the top there. You can select it so that you can see your calendar completely, and you can see what's due, right? Any due date that you set. Okay, the next power up I'm going to talk about is card relationships. Now, this is $4 a month. I just signed up for the 2-week free trial right now so we can test it out. So please give me feedback on this. But it's able to set how many people you have in your downline. And so with relationships, you can add a parent and a child, parent being the sponsor, children being all of their sponsees. And you can create how many people they have. So to add someone, you would just select that. You would click add existing children, and then you can find in here their sponsee's name. If we click a more dynamic one, let's go to Lee and Julie, for example. These guys, they sponsor a lot of people. We're working on building this, but you can see their parent is Marguerite, who has 34 in her front line, and then all of their children are in here. And you can also change the view of how many they sponsor. Okay, last but not least, we're just going to go over Butler really quickly. In order to make Butler happen for us, one important thing is on our personal card, we want to add all of our checklists. So our checklists are here, going to be birthday, join, onboarding, 7-day follow-up, basically any checklist that you need in your entire board, you're going to stick in this card so that we can add it to other cards when we use the Butler. To add a checklist, you're just going to click here on checklist. Then you can title your checklist, join, application, onboarding, whatever you want to call it. And then in there, you can add items to each checklist so that you get step 1, 2, 3 for each checklist. You just add an item like that. Once you build out all your checklists, and I'll go through this slowly so you can just pause the video and see what we have in here for our checklist. And you can see I expanded onto onboarding and I put in our onboarding checklist into the card. Once you have all of your checklists created, we can make them automated in Butler. And so we want this join checklist to pop up on the application list as soon as we add a card there, as soon as we put their name in. And so here's our application list. We want to add another card and we want this list to pop up. In order to do that, We're going to go into Butler, click on Rules, and we'll create our first rule. That rule is when a card is added to the application list by anyone, join the card and add the join checklist to the card. Now, in order to do this rule, we're going to push Create Rule, add a trigger. We want this one. When a card is added to application by anyone, we want to add a checklist, right? The checklist name is join to the card. And now we can see when a card is added to the checklist application by anyone, add the join checklist to the card. We can push save, and then we have that first rule pop up here. And then now it's a good idea to go back and test it to make sure that when you do add a new card, that checklist is popping up. Now, the next thing is to when this checklist is completed, we want this card to move into the onboarding process. And so for that, we'll go back into Butler, go back into rules. We'll create our next rule. When checklist join is completed in the card by anyone, move the card to the next list on the board. To do that, again, we'll just push create rule. And so I think you can get the gist of this. You're just creating commands, right? And so that is Butler. Now, if you want a breakdown or if you want some more one-on-one time with your Trello board, also comment below and we will get together. Have a good night.